Hi, everybody. My name is Stefan Molyneux, and I'm the host of Freedomain Radio, which is the largest philosophy show in the world. As we are in the closing few days of the trial of George Zimmerman for the death of Trayvon Martin, I thought I would share a few thoughts. I hope you will make it through this presentation. I think it's quite important. We start with some caveats. I'm certainly no legal expert, and I really don't care that much about some of these largely manufactured stories that are actually distracting us, I think, from more important stories. But that having been said, this really could turn into quite an important story. As you may remember, in the wake of the 1992 riots in Los Angeles, after the Rodney King beating acquittal, there were 53 murders, 2,400 injuries, 3,000 businesses were ruined, and there was over $1 billion worth of property damage, which tragically took place in some of the poorest neighborhoods in North America. So I do actually want to get some information out there for people if it can help calm a few rioters and so on, may in fact save some lives. So I hope that you will stay with me through the presentation. So, just in case you've been on Mars, say, let's talk about George Zimmerman. He is a Hispanic American, oddly enough, referred to in the media as a white Hispanic, you know, the way that they refer to Barack Obama as a white black. He's a Hispanic American. He lives in a gated community in Sanford, Florida. It's called The Retreat at Twin Lakes. He was raised in a racially integrated household. He has black roots through an Afro-Peruvian great-grandfather. As a young man, he partnered with a black friend to start a business. He and his wife mentored and tutored minority children for free. When one of their neighbors, who is a black woman, had a home invasion from some young black men, they said, "Here's a key to our place. You can come over whenever you like. Our house is your house," and so on. So it does not seem to be a huge amount of racial bias, quite the contrary. Zimmerman had been arrested twice in the past. One was a charge for domestic assault, which was dropped, and there was another charge of resisting arrest. That was reduced so that he was no longer charged with any violence in resisting arrest. In Sanford, Zimmerman actually led the inquiry into the official death of a black homeless man. Zimmerman publicly criticized the Sanford Police Department for allegedly covering up the January 2011 beating of a black homeless man by the son of a white police officer, which resulted in the resignation of then Sanford Police Chief Brian Tooley. So took on a pretty white bunch of cops in defense of a homeless black man and actually did have some real effects. Not the profile of your average KKK member. Now, in this gated community, about 20% of the residents are black, and there was a problem. As you probably know, in Florida, the house prices have really collapsed since the housing crash of 2008 and onwards. Lots of unoccupied homes, lots of problems with crime. There were at least 8 burglaries from November 2010 to February 2012, which were committed by black men, with dozens more unreported to the police. Drugs, vandalism, and theft had become a constant problem in the community. In July 2011, a young black man stole Zimmerman's bike from his home. The next month, his wife saw one fleeing a burglarized home. Now let's look at Trayvon Martin. Of course, you probably saw the pictures of this cherub-faced young boy of 11 or 12. The reality is he was a 17-year-old young black man. He was 5'11", 158 pounds, a former footballer, muscular. He was a possible drug dealer who had been suspended from school for carrying around a baggie with pot residue. He was actually sent to his father and his father's girlfriend in Sanford because he had been suspended, and his mother, or stepmother, I think, was worried about things. He was messaged on social media, "Damn, where you at? A nigga need a plant," which I assume does not mean a hydrangea. And when a security guard searched his backpack after he tagged WTF at the school, the security guard found women's rings, earrings, and a screwdriver, which was described as a burglary tool. To be clear, there's no evidence that Trayvon Martin was associated with any of the burglaries in the gated community. I just really want to be clear about that, because he's pretty new to the community. Martin had previously been in fights, one he won by hitting his opponent in the nose, drawing blood, and one he lost because his opponent got him on the ground. We'll get into more of that in a moment. Martin tested positive for marijuana use after his death. He had pictures of himself using marijuana and growing marijuana plants. Again, to be perfectly clear, the levels that were tested, he tested positive, the levels were very low. So that's important to understand. He was also attempting to acquire or sell an illegal firearm, according to his cell phone. So he was at Sanford, as I mentioned, because he was suspended at school, and he told or bragged to his friends that he was bringing marijuana to Sanford. So This doesn't mean anything in terms of, therefore, he could get shot. I mean, 40% of American teenagers use marijuana. I'm completely for drug legalization, so it's not an issue of that. But marijuana does impair judgment, can cause paranoia, and so on. So these are just factors. They're certainly not proofs of anything in particular. It's just information. And I'm trying to provide you information that may not have been provided by, the significantly race-baiting mainstream media. So, Martin and a female friend on November 21st, 3 months before his death. After he told her he was tired and sore from a fight, she asked him why he fought. BAE is shorthand for babe. So, Martin, 'cause man, that nigga snitched on me. Friend, Bay, you always fighting, man. You got suspended? Martin, no, we thumped after school in a ducked off spot. Friend, oh, well, damn me. Martin, I lost the first round, sad face, but won the second and third round. Friend, oh, so it was 3 rounds. Damn, well, at least you won. Laugh out loud, but you need to stop fighting, Bay, for real. Martin, nay, I'm not done with fool. You're going to have to see me again. Friend, no, stop. You ain't going to be satisfied till you suspended again, huh? Martin, nah, but he ain't bleed enough for me. Only his nose. Not unimportant that somebody had a history of fighting, a knowledge of fighting. He'd been studying some mixed martial arts, and this comes into the narrative a little bit later, and that he knew how to hit people in the nose to make the nose bleed, and so on. Again, it doesn't prove anything. It's really clear about this. It's just background information that I think is not irrelevant, if that makes any sense. All right, so let's talk about the walk. So Trayvon Martin left the apartment and took a mile-long walk in the pouring rain in a hoodie to buy Skittles and an Arizona watermelon fruit juice cocktail. Now, it could be that he was just jonesing for some sugar, but that seems like a pretty long and uncomfortable trip to take just for some candy and a soft drink. Could be another reason as to why he was so keen to get a hold of these things. The fruit juice cocktail and the Skittles are 2 ingredients in a druggy concoction known as lean, scissor or purple drink, which requires codeine, soft drink, and candy. According to his Facebook posts, Martin had been using lean since at least June 2011, when, tragically, he was separated from his primary caregiver. June 27th, 2011, Martin asks a friend, you now a connect for codeine? You are now a connection for codeine. He tells his friend that Robitussin and soda could make some fire-ass lean. I had it before and wants to make some more. His father's girlfriend's house was 100 yards from Zimmerman's truck, and the confrontation occurred 70 yards from this woman's house, the tragic confrontation. So what are the drug effects of lean? High doses are sometimes compared to the effects of other dissociatives, such as PCP or ketamine. DXM, that's this part of the ingredients in Robitussin, causes physical and psychological effects that may be frightening or unpleasant. Psychological effects can include profound disorientation, depression, a feeling of personal disintegration, or a feeling of unreality, and disconnection that may persist for days. Chronic use may cause depression, psychological dependency, and possibly brain damage. Large doses may be associated with psychotic breaks. A few people, this is a person writing about it, and the sources for everything I'm talking about will be in the low bar or in the notes to the podcast. A few people seem to be greatly susceptible to DXM addiction, and some of these have suffered long-term health consequences. A very few may have suffered permanent brain damage from extremely heavy use of DXM, an 8-ounce bottle of maximum-strength syrup every day. On the other hand, some people consume the same amount for years, seemingly without consequence. And while some people can consume DXM regularly without psychological consequences, others suffer from severe depression and psychotic breaks, even leading to a few cases of suicide attempts. And this can result in bad trips, psychotic breaks, psychological addiction, and depression, and irreversible brain damage. So the major risks of occasional use of this lean: panic attacks, psychotic breaks, impaired judgment in critical situations. The risks of regular use and binges: mania, violent ideation, means repetitively violent thoughts, antisocial behavior and paranoia. And in fact, the woman he was on the phone with, Gentile, did describe him as paranoid during the time that he was on the phone with her when he was walking home. And again, this doesn't prove anything. These word games don't mean anything. It's just important information to have. So regular use can cause habituation and psychological addiction, tolerance and physical addiction, psychosis, liver, kidney, and pancreas damage, And in fact, Martin's liver indicated the beginning stages of an unusual degrading known as mild fatty metamorphosis, and his brain tissue appeared compromised, both conditions symptomatic of DXM use, though not proof of damage from DXM. So somebody writing with advice on how to deal with people who are taking this drug says, be very careful in trying to restrain the tripper, since he or she may perceive this as a threat and will probably be mostly immune to pain. The tripper, like a cornered animal, could beat the living shit out of you without thinking twice. And again, this does prove nothing. These are possible indications of what might have happened. I just want to be clear about that. So what happened? So before this time, February 2nd, 2012, Zimmerman called 911, concerned that a young black man was scouting a burglary location, and said, I don't want to approach him personally. By the time the police arrived, the man was gone. So this is not somebody who goes around stalking and so on. And people use these words like Zimmerman was stalking Trayvon Martin, that this is not even remotely accurate, which we'll get to in a little bit. Stalking is a very specific legal term. It's a repetitive harassment, fear, and so this is not for people who met the first time. So 4 days later, after February 2nd, 2012, 2 young black men burglarized another house in the community. One was caught with stolen goods on him. February 26th, 2012, Zimmerman called the non-emergency number of the local police department to report a suspicious person walking slowly between houses through the rain, seemingly on drugs. Now, right after Trayvon Martin bought his candy and soft drink, 3 young men came in to buy blunts, which are, small, cheap cigars that you can hollow out and put marijuana in, or so I've heard. And he may have met them, he may have known them afterwards. There's no particular video footage, but there's some indication that he may have known them. And so he may have been actually on drugs at that time, or he may have picked up ingredients for drugs, which, if you're an addict, it kind of makes sense that you're going to do that, walk in the rain. So it's possible that he was already on drugs. The young man approached Zimmerman in his car, then ran away. Zimmerman apparently got out of his car to monitor Martin and told the dispatcher what he was doing. And the dispatcher replied, okay, we don't need you to do that. This is a point of great contention for people following this trial. If only Zimmerman had stayed in his car, if only he had listened to the dispatcher, then none of this would have occurred. And we will get to that, the legality of that in a sec. So Zimmerman lost track of Martin, but Zimmerman said that first he wanted to walk and check out the street signs to see exactly which one he was at before he returned to his car. They changed names occasionally, which is part of why he wanted to make sure, despite familiarity with the neighborhood. Now, this is kind of what he's supposed to do. He's a neighborhood watch captain, which the community organized because the police can't protect people. We all know that, which is really tragic. But so he was part of this is what he's supposed to do. And the police are always saying, if you see something, say something, report suspicious activity, and so on, right? So after doing this, Zimmerman says he was returning to his car.